Hi, welcome to the A to Z of Sales and Marketing Automation online session. My name's Dan Smith, I'm the Commercial Director here at Dugino. First of all, I want to start off by a fairly obvious question, but hopefully as we go through you'll start to understand a little bit more about why it's not quite so obvious. But what is Sales and Marketing Automation? Sales and Marketing Automation replaces the manual steps that you have within these processes with automated steps. It's as simple as that. But those automated steps are done through software and software robots, which I'll explain more about at the moment. It's not one all-encompassing piece of software, it's various bits of software. And I'm going to say right up front here, we don't sell software. We're not here to give you a picture on any particular type of software. We're just going to talk you through about some of the options, some of the things that you can do with it, some of the places to get started, and a few of the recommendations which we use with our customers. So, sales and marketing automation is a combination of software that allows companies to effectively target customers with automated marketing messages across all channels, including email, websites, social media, etc. But it's actually more than that. So, I mentioned just now about software robots. Now, we're not talking about Metal Mickey for those people who are old enough to remember such things. What we're talking about are pieces of software which will actually take place of some of those manual steps that you take. So this can be either all-encompassing across an organisation, or it can just be just a small part of your processes. So let's look about where they can help. Well, email. We often do automated email services for people. We're going to talk about this in more depth as we go along. Chatbots. You probably come across chatbots when you've been onto websites and they've brought those things up for there. But automation will also look at things such as how to interact with those people that are visiting your website and those online inquiries. Automation can be used in the scheduling of social media and other content. And when people interact with your website, whether that's placing an order or filling in a web form, or anything like that, it can be updating the contact list, the CRMs, the various databases within your organisations, the accounts and billing platform, for example. Automation can be used through the lead nurturing that you'll have working through your buyer's journey. I hope you're familiar with the buyer's journey. If you're not, it's a different conversation which we can have with you. And automation also enables you to have more insight into what's going on with those customers, alerting when they change their status, and giving you analytics, that kind of thing. We're going to talk about this all in a lot more detail as we go through here. So I use it. Well, we're all pressurised to do more with less time and less money, and automation is a key way to do that. It's going to give you a better customer experience. If a customer asks for something from your organisation online, and you can respond immediately, and you can respond in a personalised way and a timely way, then they're more likely to have a better experience of working with you. There's often that thing about the first company to respond is most likely to win that business, and with automation you can always make sure you're the first company to respond, even if a customer inquires at 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. I mentioned a little bit about analytics and insight. I'm going to talk about this more as we go through. But often within sales and marketing, we're working blind. And with the things we're going to talk about with the automation, what you're going to do is be able to get more information about what those customers are doing, when they're doing it. That will help you make those better decisions about when you contact that customer and hopefully increase your close ratio, which is what it's all about ultimately, isn't it? It's about selling more. This is why we're all here. This is what we all want to do. So, is sales and marketing automation complicated? Simple answer is yes, it certainly can be. If you want to automate all your processes and join them up across your business and using all the applications that you use, it could be a long-winded process. It could be complex, it can be technical, but it doesn't have to be. In fact, I would say that you probably already use sales and marketing automation within your business, even if you don't know about it. The most common area that people use sales and marketing automation is in email newsletters. So we're all familiar with these, aren't we? We go on, we see something which we think we might be interested in, we fill in the sign up form, automatically that joins in the mailing list, and then we start receiving those emails. The company that we've signed up to hasn't had to do anything there. That's all been automated for them. And in this world of GDPR, when somebody comes along and wants to unsubscribe, they'll just hit an unsubscribe button, and again that will remove them off those lists. And hopefully if you've got GDPR compliant stuff, it will remove them completely off those lists, not just remove them off the that single list that you've won, if that's what they've requested. So we're already probably using sales and marketing automation within our businesses. We just don't necessarily notice it. And something like a newsletter, which would be cumbersome for somebody to have to deal with manually, is done automatically, and that's just something we accept. But sales and marketing automation can be used elsewhere within the business as well. So if we look at the first scenario we're going to go through here today, we're going to look at a simple lead capture form. This lead capture form, which we've all come across, you probably use them within your business. We just drive somebody to a page, we give them a good call to action, a reason for contact, they'll put in their name and their email address into that form. So we should all be familiar with these. So that lead comes into your business, and the first thing you do is you try to give them a call. They don't answer, it's a little bit frustrating, so you drop them an email. Then you give them another call, drop them another email, give them another call, and suddenly this warm lead that you were dealing with, or the hot lead, becomes a warm lead, starts becoming a colder lead. And over a period of time you think, actually they're not ready to buy yet, I'm just going to schedule a contact further down the line, or they might come back to you and say, hey, we're not looking to buy till halfway through next year, so can you come back to us then? So you put something in the diary for that. Hopefully you remember to email them, but like most salespeople and people running companies, other things come along, something bright and shiny, and you go and chase that. After all, you've got targets to hit, things you want to hit, and a deal that's going to happen in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, 18 months' time can't be your priority. And these opportunities start to gather dust, start to gather cobwebs. They're there, they're sat there, something, but actually they're not being looked after. And then you start to say, hey, what was the ROI on that marketing campaign that we did? You know, what sales did we get out of that? And actually the reality is most of those opportunities have gone in the bin because you're taking your eye off them, and that 6, 12, 18 months later, you're not following them up, you're looking at new things. So opportunities are going out the window and you're wasting money in your marketing. So when you add automation into the mix, you can do this in a different way. So automation comes in, you still have that same target, but once they come in, they'll immediately go into the database. So you're not relying on a salesperson filling in a CRM system. You're not relying on that going off to an admin person to take the information from a form and fill it into there. And it means that when that person interacts with your business straight away, that content, that piece of information that they want to get hold of can go straight across to them. And once they've come in, it's gone into the CRM system, the customer's got that information, and all those people within the business that need to know about this person inquiring will receive alert. And these alerts will continue happening dynamically through that time when that customer is going through your sales pipeline, going along that buyer's journey. Every time they move a stage, every time they interact, you can send an alert out. You're monitoring and looking at everything that's going on. But rather than somebody having to go and manually look at this, it's all happening in real time. So somebody goes and visits your website because they're looking for a new piece of content. Great, you know about it. That person then can get that content. You might automatically set up something like Calendly invites so those people can actually request a time to see you, or you might put them in chatbots. I mentioned chatbots before, we're going to talk about them again, but not yet for the minute. So the customer's got that piece of content. Every time that customer gets a piece of content, every time they look at an email, every time they go onto your webpage, every time they interact with your business in some way, they're adding into the score. And when that score hits a certain trigger point, then it will let the salesperson know perhaps they need to pick up the phone and speak to them. So you might score somebody opening an email as 1. You might score them opening an email and opening a link or downloading a document for that as a 4. You might say, hey, somebody visiting the website is a 3, but somebody visiting the contact page on the website is actually a 6 if they don't then do it. And that will just add up to that score, and you'll have a trigger score somewhere. You might call that trigger score 15, for example. And that trigger score then will go bang, send it to a salesperson. That salesperson needs to speak to them there and then now, because you know that they're a hot customer. That person's interacting, they're looking at where they are in that buyer's journey. You know that they're at the stage now when they're doing the consideration, they're ready to buy. Or potentially, if you're pushing them to an online sale, you might go, right, they've interacted with all these pieces of content all the way along the line. Now they're ready to buy. I can see that there. Let's prompt them. Let's say that there's a 10% off of the buy today. So with automation, you've done all that. The salesperson hasn't had to worry about what's going on. They just know that it's when the customer's ready to buy. And instead of that lead dying 6, 12, 18 months later on there, they've actually been automatically fed and moved along and nurtured along your pipeline till they're ready to buy. So you're not wasting any money on your marketing, and you're going to end up with a better ROI and ultimately making more money. So the tools in that example that I used just then, the CRM system might be something like HubSpot. They do a great free CRM, but obviously there's plenty of other CRMs available out there. Or you might just be dropping that into a Google Sheet. To look at somebody going onto the website, obviously there's Google Analytics, which I'm sure and I hope that we're all familiar with. But then you might have something like Albacross or Leadfeeder or something like that, who's actually looking at who's visiting the website and doing a reverse IP lookup on that, so you can look at that and say, actually this company's looking at the website. Hopefully if they've interacted and you filled in a form, going back to that original example, then you'll have a cookie tracking that anyway, but they might refresh browsers, use different browsers, so you still want to be able to identify them. Then you might have a tool such as Active Campaign. Again, HubSpot does this, plenty of other ones out there. And what those will do will act as the actual engine that's sitting underneath that marketing automation. So this will go in, this will make hold a CRM system, and then it will go, right, okay, based on the interaction this person's had, we're now going to send this email out to them. Based on the interaction they've had now for that email, we're going to send this, or we're going to send that piece of information out to them. And we're going to look at that and more in a second. You might use a system like Slack to send that automation out to the salespeople, rather than it just be yet another email coming into their inbox. So that salesperson might go, actually, this comes in, I know this account is associated with Dave, who's our salesperson. So it doesn't just go into the CRM system. Dave gets an alert that this thing's happening within an account they're interested in. If you've got that piece where you're trying to push the customer to buy themselves online, then you might be wanting to use something like WooCommerce. If you're using a WordPress site, so many people are. And then you might want to integrate this automation into the payment system, whether that's sending out DD stuff with GoCardless, so taking the credit card payment with Stripe. Or, as I suggested, you might want to be using Calendly or a chatbot. So if you're not familiar with Calendly is a way that can link in with your calendar, whether you're using O365 or whether you're using G Suite or things like that. And it will integrate with your calendar, and you will say to people, right, you can book an appointment directly with me, and it will look at your free and busy times within your calendar, and the customers can actually make that appointment there and then online with you without you having to interact. Or you can do that through a chatbot, and again, we'll talk about that. All these things are disparate systems spread across multiple areas, so you can then use another tool, Zapier, to actually join them all together. And I'm going to talk about Zapier a little bit later on. If there's one thing you take away from this session today, take away looking at Zapier and what Zapier can do for you. Other ideas of automation, you might be retargeting of website visitors using Google AdWords or Facebook marketing. You might want to be doing LinkedIn prospecting, where you augment your manual processes with giving it a kickstart with a bit of automation. Or you might want to do email campaigns, and not just the kind of email campaigns of fire and forget. Those are long gone, loads are dead, those don't bring results. You need to be doing highly personalised, highly targeted email campaigns, and you can do that with marketing automation and bring it in and tie it in to everything else that you're doing with your sales and marketing. So there are lots of tools that can be used, and what we're going to look at here is a typical marketing technology stack, the kind of thing that we build for our customers, the kind of thing that we use for ourselves. So we've mapped this across to the buyer's journey, hopefully to make it a little bit easier to understand what's being used at each stage. So at the awareness stage, this is where the customer's first looking at you. You might be using tools for your social media. So there's a couple of tools mentioned there. Social Pilot, other things available to do that. To automate those posts going out might be Buffer, Hootsuite. Another one we mentioned on there is Later. Later's fantastic for Instagram. You obviously look after your SEO, things like Moz. You'll have your paid search stuff out there, so your Google AdWords, Facebook AdWords. You may be using Bing. Very few of our clients do, but you may be using it. And in the lead generation side of stuff, you might be, obviously you've got your company website, you might be using cold emails, LEM List. I'm going to talk about LEM List again a little bit later on, because I think LEM List is a fantastic tool for cold email. You might be doing LinkedIn prospecting, using something like DuckSoup or Linked Helper. You have to be careful with these because LinkedIn don't like automations. You have to be really careful that how you use them and when you use them, so you don't get banned on there. Then you want to be converting these leads and putting them through your nurture sequence with Active Campaign or a similar tool as that. And then in the nurturing, you might be retargeting with your adverts going to them. And then building this through, and we've got the CRM systems sitting there at the center of all this, and your analytics to know exactly who's doing what, when they're doing it, how they're doing it. You can tune your campaign based on those analytics. So where to get started? So you're probably using a tool such as MailChimp in your business already. MailChimp is far more powerful than just using it for email going in and out. You can actually create nurture sequences and automations there with MailChimp. Moving up the stacks, you might be using Active Campaign. A lot of our customers use Active Campaign on there. So Active Campaign, I'm going to talk about it more in a second. On there, it's a really good price system. Or you might be using something like HubSpot. HubSpot is great. It's a fantastic marketing automation platform. There's a CRM system built into it as well. The only issue I have with HubSpot is it soon becomes very expensive. You can start using it free of charge for the CRM. You start using the services on top of the things, and suddenly you find yourself spending £600, £700, £1,000 a month on it. So it becomes a very expensive way of working quite quickly. So what we're going to do is look at a middle ground there, and we're going to look at Active Campaign. Active Campaign, you can be looking between £50 and £100 a month, so it's not particularly expensive in the world of automation. So what does Active Campaign do for you? Well, email is a major part of this. So if somebody's filled in an online form and it comes into your Active Campaign system, there is a built-in CRM in there. Personally, I don't like the CRM that's built in with that. I actually link the Active Campaign actions across into HubSpot CRM, but you could use a CRM within there. But the email comes into there, and you can start segmenting those users based on their actions within that platform. So the next email that person gets in the sequence can be tuned to what the actions and reactions they've taken before. So you would know if they've opened that email. You would know whether they've clicked things within that email. You would know whether they've come to your website off the back of that email. And you can send them the relevant content based on that action, just to push them through that sales pipeline. And this is all done with automation. So to segment them, you might put a tag onto that person and build these tags and rules based about what tags there to build those customers out. You can make sure that they're getting the right information at the right time on that platform. As I mentioned, there's a CRM system within HubSpot. I don't like it, but what I do like within there is lead scoring. Lead scoring is where I've mentioned before that you put a score next to whatever action that those users take on your platform. So if they look at your website, if they open an email, etc., you put a score next to it, and when that score hits a certain point, that's a point where you pass it on to the salesperson to deal with. It might take them 6 months, it might take them 12 months, it might take them 18 months to reach that point. But because it's all automated, you know it's going to happen on behind the scenes, no matter even if the salesperson's forgotten about it or moved business and left the company. You don't lose deals for that. And it also enables you to do things such as tracking what all those users are doing, sending out messaging when they actually hit your website, so you can see all this information in real time. So it's a fantastic tool. Now let's step back a little bit and talk about the actual automation process there that you use within ActiveCampaign, because this is at the heart of sales and marketing automation. The little tools here, there and everywhere all can be brought in together, but what you need is an engine at the middle to actually make that sales and marketing automation work. Now, creating sales and marketing automations can look complicated. They can be complicated, but if you use a tool at the heart of it that will do most of the work, it shouldn't be too hard. So this is a flow, this is a sequence of somebody filling in a form, and then depending on what they've done within that form, it will depend on what actions are taken. So if they've suggested, for example, immediately that they're actually looking to, I don't know, do a demo, it will take something, go down the left hand side that might go, actually I want this person to book an appointment for a demo straight away. If on that form though the person says, hey, I'm not ready for a demo but can you send me more information, it might go down the right hand side and they will get emails coming down from there, and depending on what they do within that sequence might push them back across into the point where they actually want a demo, or it might take them through a point where they qualify out, or it might take them a point through where you nurture them through. But this is all automated. This doesn't have to have a salesperson deal with it. It isn't the case at the moment where they go, oh, we want a demo, bang, you deal with that. Oh, they don't want a demo, oh, I'll just send them an email. And then I keep sending them a chase-up email. Are you ready to talk? Are you ready to talk? Are you ready to talk? No, you remove those. What you do is you put a way to do this intelligently. You'll go, I know they're not ready to talk because they're not interacting with that content that I sent. It's quite clear that they're interacting with the content where they're just information gathering. Great. Well, they're sending that information gathering content, and then let's try to help them and feed them through about why they should be looking at us rather than those people. Let's see how they interact with that. Let's see if we can move them down through that buyer's journey to a point where actually they're making that decision whether they're going to buy there and then. At that point, you can making sure that you're sending the information about your competitive analysis, your pricing, offers and stuff, rather than sending those out right at the front on there. I mentioned LEM List earlier when we talked about email prospecting. Email prospecting isn't dead. Email prospecting works really well, but you can't send and hope. You can't do blasts out to 1,000 people a day hoping that some people are going to come back. GDPR prohibits that generally, but even if you do legitimate interest tests, it's still not going to return back. It's just rubbish, it's just spam. But highly targeted, highly personalised email still does work. And LEM List is a way you can do that. It's a fantastic tool where it can do dynamically bring in stuff like logos from companies, dynamically change images within emails going out. So you can upload that list just in the same way that you'll be doing a mail merge, and it will actually personalise each email going to them. It can do dynamic landing pages for individual companies or individuals within those individual companies. You can do dynamic videos in there. So all of that can be done through a platform which is automated. And you'll notice on this automation that there's step 1, 2, 3, 4. So rather than send out one email, you send out multiple emails in a sequence. And depending on what reaction they take, you either stop that, put them into a different sequence, put them into your CRM system, all automatically. But you'll notice here that 97 replies came back from email number 1, but email number 2 another 47 did. Now email number 3 another 28 did, and email number 4 another 21 did. So you doubled the amount of responses you've got back from your campaign by doing multiple emails. Always do multiple emails, and you can make sure this campaign is going out when it suits you. You know, whether that's Monday to Friday, just on Mondays, just on Tuesdays, however many you want to go out, whether it's within your business hours or not. And you can be running multiple campaigns across your segmented base across on this platform. Upload that database, send it out based on the sequence you put. Now, all campaigns and all these things still require a lot brain work. Setting the automation stuff up is one bit, but you need to have decent quality copy. You need to be testing your subject lines. You need to be testing that copy. You need to be doing A/B testing. And within Active Campaign, for example, within LEM List, you can be doing A/B testing. It's just automated in that platform as long as you enable it. So all of that can be taken care of for you. Social media. Now, social media can be a real bind for people. Trying to find 10-15 minutes every day to post something new, to post something relevant. And then suddenly you start off with the best intentions. 6 months down the line, your beating heart of your social media actually has stopped beating. You haven't posted anything for a month and a half. Somebody goes and looks at your social media, go, actually, is this customer still alive? Are they still actually active? So what you can do, it just spend a little bit of condensed time bringing together that content and then schedule it across through the month. You might be reusing posts across the month, but you don't have to think about it. You put it into an automation and then those posts go out. And another thing with the automation with social media, if you use a tool like Social Pilot, and I pick a Social Pilot, I say there's other things like Buffer out there and Social Sprout, is that Buffer's a very good value piece, but it also enables you to use syndicated content. You might use content coming through from the various partners you work with. So say you work at a technology company, you work with Microsoft and Cisco, for example, you might just take some of their syndicated content and feed it automatically out into your line without you even having to think about it. It just pulls it off their feed, puts it out onto there. So you've always got fresh content going out. And in with social media, people often say social media, but how do I know whether it's working? What do I do? Well, if you're using automation, if you're using those tools rather than just posting, you're getting insight into that. You're getting reporting into that coming through every single day. I'm rushing through this stuff because there's so much to get through, and I'm just trying to keep it down into a short time for you. Look at something like chatbots here. ManyChat is a chatbot that works with the messenger within Facebook. People often overlook Facebook marketing when they're dealing with B2B, but your B2B customers actually do live on Facebook. Don't think of them about a business, think of about them as an individual person. We also build chatbots using IBM Watson, which go onto websites and the like. But ManyChat is a great way of getting started with chatbots. Here's 3 examples, just a little bit sequenced from there. The first one is Magical Baby Moments. Now, they're a hypnobirthing company, way outside of what we normally deal with as a company, but we use a chatbot there so people could actually go through and we could qualify them out. They're only looking for people that are in the certain trimester of there that might actually want to be booking hypnobirthing classes, but it doesn't mean that the other people aren't interested, so they can be sent the relevant information, they can be put into a nurture sequence, and all that qualification is being done automatically through the chatbot. They're not having to pass it on to their person who's running it, their consultant who's running that business. It's all been done through the chatbot. So they know, actually, I can focus on these 10 people who have come through and said, hey, I want to have hypnobirthing thing, rather than the 30, 40, 50 who aren't ready, who aren't looking. But when it comes around to those times those people are looking, they obviously would have been warmed up, they would have been nurtured, they would be ready, and then the consultant gets told that those people are now the people to chat to. The second one's just some stuff that was done around a little quiz for a competition on there for a social media company. And the third one was for real estate, where people are actually booking appointments online. Surprisingly, with the real estate one, we actually found that what they were looking at, one of the areas, were for people who wanted to start letting properties, and through the chatbots we actually found that about 40% of their people coming through there were over 55, so probably in a bracket you'd think, oh, they're not going to use chatbots, it's all for younger people, but actually we found that to be completely different. Chatbots work in very similar way to the marketing automation that we were talking about within Active Campaign. You create these flows, you create the actions that people do. Are you interested? Yes, no, now. Go here, go there. Take those interactions and then build them out. It's really worthwhile investing time in understanding how these things work and how they can work for your business. Investing time in learning these tools if you've got the bandwidth to be able to do that. If you don't have the bandwidth to be able to do that, guess what? There are companies out there can do it. Guess what? We can. Zapier. I mentioned Zapier before. If there's one thing you take away from this, take away using Zapier. Zapier is a glue that brings in all these individual tools together. So the actions that you do with one thing can be done elsewhere. There are things that you do all day, every day in your business, manual processes, which you can remove from your business, stop them being manual and start to make them being automatic. Some of the basic zaps within Zapier and numbers of zaps you can do absolutely free of charge. So you might have something as simple as Gmail attachments going to Dropbox on there, or a new contact going into a spreadsheet that then gets put into your CRM system. But let's take that first one. Say you've got an order account. So as people go, order forms go back to orders at whatever.com. So that could go, drop it into Dropbox, drop it into your CRM system, mark it as a lead deal that's won. Send the customer automated sequence thanking them for that, telling them the next steps that are going to happen with their order. Fire that off to the relevant departments within your business. If they've got sequences that have to go back out to the customers, they can go there. Let it go and populate your account system. So somebody's just contacted you, sent what would have been a paper order through to you. Perhaps you've got it electronically signed now through DocuSign or something like that. It's come through. But all these processes, all these sequences have fired off, have started, have got into place. All of them have done without anybody getting involved with it. So rather than having that order form that somebody then goes, I've got to key it into this system, I've got to key it into there, it automatically goes across all of those. And although those are all disparate systems, although those are separate, although those are all over the place, what you can do is do this automatically, and Zapier is the glue that enables you to do that. Now, you can't do all those multi-stage zaps within the free account. You have to go into the paid accounts and stuff like that, but you can do the basic zaps within there. Zap is there. There are other tools which are available to do this, but personally I find Zapier probably the easiest to work with. Not that it's always that easy, but it's easy just to work with. So what can we do? Now, you're not going to get through all of this and go through half an hour here without me giving you some kind of sales pitch. Dugino is a full service marketing agency. We deal with inbound marketing, outbound marketing. What we're interested in for our customers is revenue generation, whether we're doing the actual hard work, building things, or whether we're working on a strategy, working on the creative. And with an automation, we can do it. We can create it for you. We can configure it for you. We can manage it for you. And to that effect, if you want to understand sales and marketing automation in more detail, if you want to know how it will work for your business, then you can jump on a call with me or one of the other consultants. It won't be a sales pitch. It will be understanding how this will work for your business. If it doesn't work for your business, we'll tell you it doesn't work for your business. If it's something that you can set up and do in half an hour or an hour, we're going to tell you it's that. If it's something which is more involved, then perhaps we'll get involved. Now, we normally charge for this because we don't do stuff for free. We're a business at the end of the day. But if you've joined this webinar, if you've got involved with this today, or if you're finding this elsewhere and it's still in before June 2021, which is probably going to be the cut-off point, we'll do this first call with you free of charge. Also, if you're thinking, hey, but this is great, but actually what I need to do is generate more business here and now today, what we can do, we can run a LinkedIn prospecting campaign for you. Because we told you that automation is a piece of this, we're not going to charge you for that piece that we would normally charge for that has automation. What we will charge you for, though, is the other elements that make it work. Those elements are around content and seeding that content and the strategy around that. So please get in contact with us. Contact me directly with any questions that you have. Doesn't matter if it hasn't been covered here. If it's something which you go, hey, who would know about this? Ask me. I might know,